Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus here with a review of the TFC Toys Gear of War accessory set for several Transformers Universe toys. The box art's quite pretty, but the real fun is with what you get inside, so let's move along. The first major accessory is the Inferno ladder. It says Fire Rescue and TFC Toys across the side, and has quite a chromy little spout. Now, this thing probably is suited a lot better to the Henkei Inferno, but I actually found it wasn't all that bad on the normal Universe one. The way you install this is a little scary at first. You basically take this nozzle and pop it off. Now, the first time I did that, it was really hard, but since then, it's actually been quite easy to get off this little mushroom peg. You just have to tilt it like this. And then this piece, which is more so designed to be attached in such a fashion, you just plug on in the opposite way by pushing it down from the side. And it goes on quite happily, if a little bit wonkily. It does really look neat though, even though this is a bit of a short fire truck to have a ladder. I think it's generally a pretty neat addition. It can also tilt up on quite a solid ratchet, and if you want, you can extend it. So hooray! You can give Inferno a giant ladder, and if you want, you can also say it's like a huge battering ram phallic spout thing. Also, if you don't want to have the old weapon lying around, you can quite feasibly attach it to either of the pegs on either side. I actually prefer to put it on this side, because that way it doesn't bump into the fire truck proper when it's down and stored away. This piece is quite solid to clip in, extremely solid in fact, which leads to one of the small problems I have with this set, is that it has many chromed parts where I feel that they were sculpted before the addition of chrome was added in, so as I'm trying to slide the spout off of this piece, it's actually proving incredibly hard. You may be wondering why I'm trying to slide this off of here. Well, I was fortunate enough to receive this piece, which was limited to Hong Kong members only. This piece can slide onto here to form something if you ever wanted to kit bash a grapple out of Inferno. Voila! You've got a construction crane. So I thought that was a really neat touch. Sadly, this is a very hard piece to get a hold of, so this part of the review is more so just to show you that it exists. Most of the time you'll just have this thing on here, which also means most of the time you won't have to worry about removing it. Anyway, moving on to his robot mode, I'll just transform him for you, and then show you how to put the ladder on him in robot mode. Now you'll notice that I put the original gun back in place. This is actually how you're supposed to do it. You don't have to put the original gun back there, but you do remove the ladder from there, because the ladder now slides in place over this arm guard piece. Once it's slid in place, it is quite solid. And now you've got Inferno with his ladder arm. You can also extend it out from here if you want him to have like this ladder punch kind of deal. And it looks pretty neat. If you're into this kind of aesthetic with the ladder sticking off the arm like this, then it works quite well. I think it looks kind of reminiscent of Hyoryu from Gao Gaigar, so I can deal with this pretty well, but it would have been nicer if this could have been integrated into the vehicle mode to robot transformation a bit better without the parts forming, but it does make for an effective piece, I still think. He also has a thing where you can put the Spout-hand onto his fist to mimic the G1 toy even further. Another case of the chrome clearly being a final edition is that there's a peg in there for his fist hole, but he really will never need it because it doesn't even really fit on that way. You have to put it on the other way and kind of just friction it in place, and it does friction in place quite solidly. I think it is definitely a solid part of the set. It's not all you get though, so let's move on to the Autoscouter, who is quite a bit shorter than Inferno. This Autoscouter is the first one to hit the mass market, and I rather like it. It's not quite as G1 screen accurate as one of the upcoming ones, but I think that given that the Universe line has generally been about reimagining the G1 looks to slightly more modern designs, this is kind of rolling along that same sentiment. I do like the clear orange used for the eyepiece. That clear orange plastic is also used for the crystals. He comes with 4 of them. And you can stick any one of them into his little claw thing here quite solidly. And then if you want, you can have him wave it around. The claw is actually nicely posable, and you can have it even double joint its elbow down like that if you want to. So I was quite impressed with that. Also, he's got a fully posable waggling feeler knob thing. This is, I'm sure it serves some kind of purpose, I can tell the children. Anyway, his transformation was surprisingly fun for me. You basically just fold away the claw. And my favorite piece of engineering on this piece does a pretty neat use of swivel, swivel, swivel. That being the swivel followed by 2 swivels that have to be done in a certain order, and then everything just kind of clips into place on here. He makes a very convincing tape. Sized with Ravage from the Universe Classics line, he's generally about the right dimensions. I think that he'd fit into Soundwave pretty well. Sadly, my Soundwave is very hard to get a hold of at the moment, and you'll just have to either take my word for it or try it yourself. The Autoscouter is also, again, a very solid piece of this set, if you're into the Autoscouter anyway. And there is one last major component. The cannons! Now, the cannons are actually why I got a hold of 2 of these sets, because they come in interchangeable colors and pieces, and the more of them you have, the merrier you are. Here on Sideswipe, I've got examples of 2 major combinations of these. Basically, the 3 components are this piece, and this piece. This thrustery type fin deal can stick on the back of the firing mechanism or onto the back of the little missile. These do fire quite nicely, I've found, so long as the pieces fit together well. There is one little problem, though, and that is, once again, the chrome and its manipulation of the dimensions of pieces. Most importantly, on this black launcher here, I can't get this rear fin piece off. I've tried, and I can't. I shoved it on there pretty hard, and I believe this chrome, as I said, has made these parts all thicker than they were designed to be, and as a result, it means that they can be extremely tight to stick together. This is not always the case. Some of these have gone together really well, but some of these have been a little bit difficult to get apart. You can kind of pull this off with the missiles because you can push from underneath. I'm sure there's ways to use vices and whatnot, but at the end of the day, I found it was more effective to just leave it alone. There's also a slot so they can fit onto this part of Mirage. And this part it's pretty solid once you get it in there, but figuring out how to get it in there solidly can be a bit of a task. You have to find the right angle to get it onto this middle fin here. It turns out pretty well. He can also mount one underneath his gun, which was a neat little addition. It uses 2 of the holes on the bottom of the fender part, and then it can extend his gun out to be even more deadly. So it looks pretty good on either of these guys. You can outfit more than these guys with them, but I believe these were the ones they were mainly designed for. You can also kind of get creative, like I had a lot of leftover red pieces, and was able to make 2 duplicate cannons for Fracture. And I think they look really cool on her. So, as I said, if you can get a hold of a couple extra sets of these cannons, it's really worth it, because I think they complete the look of a lot of these universe characters quite well. They are all chromed, so naturally they'd go better with the Henkei guys, but I think they look fine with the universe ones. Also, one last thing worth noting is that, as easiest to show on Sideswipe here, they're actually on a movable joint on the peg, which only moves just enough to tilt up and down just a little bit. I think it can move a bit more, but with Sideswipe, this stuff gets in the way pretty well. It's a nice option to have, nonetheless. And also, these guns can fit onto Inferno's ladder, right up here at the top. So if you do put together a gun for, say, Red Alert, and you don't have Red Alert yet, i.e. me, you can just store it on there. Or if you want Red Alert's gun to go onto his buddy Inferno, who's certainly not out to steal his job, then the option remains. Oh, there was one last thing. I'm not sure if you can tell, but Mirage is actually standing right there. He has the assistance of the final accessory in this pack, a bit of a bonus one that a lot of people weren't expecting. Requires a bit of assembly, which can be a little bit tricky, but I didn't have too much trouble with it. Mirage! Mirage! Yes, you get Mirage's orange stealth box, because nothing says stealth like a giant orange box. Outside of when you use it to show Mirage's stealth functions, it literally is a giant hollow orange box with a lid. The nice thing about this is that if you're not going to use it for Mirage and display, it does make a nice thing to hold stuff in, I've found. But I'm glad that it's just a bit of a bonus. Although it is pretty well done, I was surprised by the size of it when it was all assembled together. As you can see, there are some tabs up here. This is basically folded up flat in the package behind the instruction sheet and everything else. So it's a nice extra. Definitely not something to buy the set for, but worthwhile if you're getting it anyway. At the end of the day, the Gear of War set is effective at what it does. If you're after every component of this set, I can tell you that you won't be disappointed. I was hoping to enjoy all 4 main pieces, and I found that all 4 pieces were generally pretty cool. The only real gripe being that the chrome seemed to make some parts a little bit out of whack alignment and dimension-wise, but that didn't really hamper my enjoyment of the set, so I do recommend it. However, if you're only after the Autoscouter, or if you're only interested in the guns, or if you're only interested in the ladder, or if you're the one person who's only interested in Mirage's stealth box, then you might be disappointed if you buy the entire set, because no one piece is worth the base price on its own. It's the collection of all of them that makes it worth the money. So if you're after everything, then it's definitely recommended, but if you're not after everything, I'd say see if you can work out a deal with some friends who might be after the parts you're not interested in so you can split it up. That's what I think the main effective sales point of the Gear of War set is that it's something that you can very easily group buy, because there are a lot of people who are only after certain components. Overall, it's quite a success. I was really astounded by how much I enjoyed it, and I've got to say it's a nice piece of work by TFC Toys, and I'm looking forward to their next efforts in the accessories market. It's definitely up there and on par with the Battle Rollar. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus. I hope you've enjoyed this review in some way. I'll be back again, and maybe I'll even have some new accessories for myself.